Greetings, Monsignor Ken here with my good friend Murphy. We continue to learn about our wonderful Catholic faith. And over the weeks as we've been learning different lessons, a couple of numbers have popped out at us. The first one that I think of is the number 3. Remember? Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And the one we've been talking about is the sacraments. How many are there? 7. The 7 sacraments. Well, today we're going to learn about another number, and the number is 10. Murphy, you know what the 10 might stand for? You don't know? The 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments of God. And where do they come from? The Bible. Remember we were talking about the Bible? Well, in the Old Testament, God gave the 10 Commandments to Moses. And they're guidelines for us on how we should live our lives and how we can be happier and how, as a group, we can be better. The 10 Commandments. And I want to remind you that we shouldn't just think about them. You should memorize the 10 Commandments. Every Catholic should know the 10 Commandments by memory because they're guides for us on how we should live our lives. And so we're going to go over them very, very briefly, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a trick on maybe how you can best remember them. The 10 Commandments. The first one, I am the Lord your God, you shall have no other gods before me. The very first one, God telling us, we can't have other things as important as him. Because when we turn away from God, then we let other values come into our lives, and we're not as good as God calls us to be. God, number 1. The second, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. So important to treat everything of God as special, as sacred, as holy. We shouldn't treat it with any disrespect. The third, keep holy the Sabbath. God has given us one day out of the whole week to set aside to think about him a little bit more, but that's also why as Catholics we go to Mass every week, because he wanted us to keep that day holy, the Sabbath. Then we go on to the 4th commandment. This may be a hard one for you, but it's important for you to remember. Honor your father and your mother. We need to have respect, not only in the family, with our parents, but with one another. When we don't respect one another, we see a lot of terrible things begin to happen. The 5th, you shall not kill. Now, that's not something that you're going to be tempted to do, but we also know when God tells us that we shouldn't kill, that also means that we should treat one another nicely, not speak harshly to one another, not be angry or mean with one another. You shall not kill. The 6th, you shall not commit adultery, meaning that the family is sacred, and moms and dads, husbands and wives should treat each one another as special and always make them number 1 in their lives. You shall not commit adultery. 7, you shall not steal. Something doesn't belong to you, don't take it. 8th, do not bear false witness. How important it is to tell the truth. And also, God is also telling us in there we shouldn't be going around telling stories about people. What as adults we know is gossip. No, not a good idea. And then the last 2, they kind of like go together. And the 9th is you shall not covet your neighbor's wife. The 10th is you shall not covet your neighbor's goods. And what God is telling us in those sacraments, to be happy with what we have and not be looking elsewhere and think, oh, I wish I had that, and making ourselves miserable because I don't have something. So the 10 Commandments, you should memorize them and also learn what they mean for you in your life. So that's kind of like your homework to do. Now remember I said I'm going to give a simple way to try to remember them. Remember those 10 Commandments? The first 3 tell us how we should treat God. The first 3 are about our relationship with God. No other gods. Treat God and all the things of God with respect, and to keep holy the Sabbath. Those first 3 tell us what we should do about God. And the other 7 talk to us about how we should treat one another, respecting our parents, not killing or hurting one another, not hurting one another by the way that we mistreat them or push them aside. Do not commit adultery. Don't steal. Don't take things that don't belong to us. Don't lie. Don't tell stories about people. And don't be looking at everybody else's stuff and wish that I had that. So those 7 commandments, towards the end, they tell us how we should treat one another. So that's a simple way to try to remember all of them, but it's important that we remember each of them and memorize the 10 Commandments. God bless.